Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Guys, welcome back to r/EntitledPeople, where people think they can do whatever they want and deserve special treatment over others because, they're better. Guys, you know the drill. The stories in this one are absolutely outrageous, so try not to shake your heads too hard and subscribe if you haven't already. I used to work in the Marina District in San Francisco. For those of you who don't know, the Marina District is one of San Francisco's most expensive neighborhoods, and it's where most of the tech bros like to congregate. So one day, a guy drives up to the Apple store I worked in. The guy parks his McLaren in the street. He then walks in asking for a Genius Bar appointment immediately, because his phone stopped working and he had important things to get back to. We added him to the queue, and told him that he had time to go park his car properly as he was kind of blocking traffic. But the guy nonchalantly said that there's no open spots and he didn't care about getting a ticket because he could afford it. A few minutes later, San Francisco Police Department actually pulled up. We quickly flagged down the owner of the McLaren and told him that they were about to ticket his car. But the guy just turns around, looked at his car and said, I don't care. They can impound it for all I care. I have 10 other cars I can drive. Now, the guy's car never did get towed because he left like 10 minutes later, but that's one of the most entitled people I've ever encountered. Okay, so OP does attach a picture of the officer writing Mr. McLaren a ticket, but hey, that ticket to him was probably chump change, right? Like guys, imagine having so much money that you don't even care about your cars getting ticketed and towed. At that point, fines are just little fees to be able to do certain things. Littering on the streets, that just cost a few $100. Parking in a handicap spot, why not? I got the money to pay for the ticket and to get my car back. Like, it's mind-blowing how much the guy didn't care. He just parked in the middle of the street, knowing that he has the money to get his car back, however much it may cost. Hey Fluff, I need to tell you all about my entitled dad. He expects everything his way, and he was spoiled rotten by his parents. His entitled attitude carried on to his adult life. The guy never cooked dinner, he never cleaned, and mom had to do everything for him. His sole purpose was to go to work, make money, to keep the lights on. Mom had to do everything else. When I was a kid, one of the most common punishments was missing out on Sunday visits and dinner with my grandparents. If us kids did something wrong, we wouldn't get to go see our grandparents on Sunday and have that yummy dinner and cake. So when I was 10 years old, I had done something bad during the week to get banned. My mom and dad took turns staying with the kid who'd been banned for the week, and it was my dad's turn this time. So supper time rolls around and we had a conversation something like this. Dad asks, "So what's for supper?" Now, I thought Dad was asking me what I wanted, so he could make it or go pick it up for us to eat, like many normal parents. So I say, "I don't know, Dad, what's for supper?" Dad says, "You are making supper tonight." I told him, "But Dad, I don't know how to cook, and Mom doesn't let me use the stove either." Now, I knew how to make toast, cereal, peanut butter sandwiches, and heat up canned food in the microwave. I told him this, and this is what he said. He said, "I don't want any of that. Make something else for us." Now, Dad was starting to get angry, and I told him, "But Dad, that's all I know how to make." I was afraid of him when he was angry. We were entering the danger zone now. I told him, I think I know how to make spaghetti and sauce." To which Dad says, "Fine, make that." So let me tell you, Fluff, and all of your wonderful listeners, supper for us that night, cooked by 10-year-old me, was overcooked pasta and tomato sauce with a single bay leaf. Dad ate it and complained the whole time that the pasta was too soft, the sauce was a little burnt, and asked why I added a stupid little bay leaf. I did that because I saw Mom do it before, and he made me feel horrible. So my dad then says to me, "Your mother needs to teach you how to cook better. You're a girl, so you need to cook better than this. I'm gonna start telling your mom to let you cook dinner every night so you can get better at this. This is unacceptable for a girl your age." Again, I'm 10 years old. I had to use a chair to be able to see into the pot. Dad even got all huffy and mad when he had to leave watching a show to help me carry the pot of boiling water to strain it. This was after I set the pot on the stove, made multiple trips back and forth from the sink with a jar to fill it up. He also whined when I asked him to open the jar of sauce since I wasn't strong enough to open it. He's a spoiled bastard. This was decades ago. I'm 42 years old now, and he still acts like that. Some days, I have to parent him. So that's not a dad, that's a spoiled child who happened to just keep getting older as time went by, and happened to pop out a few kids. I also love how OP became more of a grown-up than her own dad. Like, it's crazy how when you're a little kid, you look up to certain adults, and then you get older, and you start to learn things, and sometimes you can see that they're not fit to be grown-ups at all. So, I teach 8th grade. And a few months ago, I had a female student come up to me in private and tell me that a male student in her class was harassing her sexually. She shows me the text messages that he sent, detailing highly graphic things he wants to do to her, and tells me some of the things he said to her when they're in the halls. She tells me that she's asked him to stop repeatedly, and that he's still doing it, and she wants me to help keep him away from her in my class. So before I file a report to have the issue investigated, I spend a class period keeping a close eye on the two to see if I can confirm or deny anything she's saying. Once I'm looking for it, I observe the male student doing things like licking his lips at her from the other side of the room, constantly hovering around her and finding reasons to walk past her desk. I also personally overhear him making a comment about her to another student, and based on what I've seen, I go ahead with referring the boy to the admin for harassment, and make contact with the parents of both students to tell them that the issue will be investigated by the school, and possible disciplinary action will be taken. I don't make direct contact with the boy's mother, but I leave her a voicemail and ask that she call me back. The next day, I'm in my planning period, and I get a call from the office saying that there's a parent for a meeting. Now, our policy is that parent meetings must be scheduled in advance and logged with the office. I don't have any meetings scheduled today, but I do have some time, so I decide to go and see what's up. It turns out that the male student's mother is in the office. She very nicely asks if we can talk face to face about what's going on. And for some dumb reason, I agree, even though we usually like to have another teacher or staff member present for meetings. So we go to the conference room and I go over the allegations, avoiding names. I tell the woman that a female student has accused her son of sexual harassment, and I saw enough evidence in class to refer it to the office for investigation. The mother says, "Now what exactly did you hear? Because I know my son, he would never harass a girl. He might say something stupid that got taken the wrong way, but that's not who he is. So what exactly did you hear him say? I want to know what this girl's saying about him. She could be lying." I say to her, I saw him licking his lips at her and overheard him say to another boy that he wanted to, quote, "ride that ass all night." Hearing that, the woman responds, "What do you mean, licking his lips? He gets chapped lips. Don't you ever get chapped lips? Don't you ever lick your lips? He might not be doing it to harass some girl. She can't just say things about him and try to ruin his life. I know my son, and he's not that kind of person, no matter what some girl says." I then say to her, well, admin and guidance are gonna have to investigate, and based on what they find, they'll be in touch with you. She says, "So wait, what did you tell them? You can't just go and accuse my son of harassing girls based on what one person says. He's already been suspended twice, and now you're gonna get him expelled because of some girl who wants to get him in trouble for no reason?" Now at this point, I'm thinking, ugh, why did I do this? The mom's getting worked up, and I have no one else there, and my next class starts soon. I repeat that I just reported the things the girl said and the things I saw, and that it'll be investigated. I reiterate that I'm not the one making any final decision, and that if she has an issue, she needs to talk to the principal. The mom then says to me, "Well, the principal hates my son. She's not gonna listen. You need to go and tell them that this is all nonsense, that you saw him licking his lips because they were chapped. I'm not gonna have all this harassment crap on my son." I said to her, again, if you have an issue, I'm not the one to talk to. I just reported what I saw. They will look into it. But you didn't see anything, and you need to tell them that. Tell them you made a mistake. His lips were chapped. I'm telling you, I know my son. You've got this all wrong. If he gets expelled because you don't know what you saw, it's gonna be your fault. I eventually talk her down enough to get her to leave. I report to admin that the parent is hostile about the accusations, and go about my day. They end up investigating and finding hard evidence that he was actually harassing 3 different girls, and boy did he get expelled. Oh boy, the mom sounds like a parent who would defend her boy no matter what. 3 different girls he was caught harassing, and mom probably still thinks he didn't send any of those crude texts. Like, she's probably thinking, ugh, I know for a fact my boy wouldn't send those texts. It must have been that Jimmy boy he hangs out with. That boy is always up to no good. Okay, so my story is nothing special compared to others, probably because I don't fold to anybody. So on this day, I was at the park with my daughter and girlfriend, helping her play on the slide, and I'm half watching this kid running around playing with a fake gun and finger guns. Now I'm trying to make it a personal habit to always carry my gun wherever I go. I fully conceal it as much as possible, but I'm guessing when I reached up to put my baby girl on the slide, it must have revealed it, because the next thing I know, I feel a tug at my shirt where my gun is. So I quickly turn around and it goes as follows. I say to him, "Hey, what's up, little buddy?" The kid says to me, "Hey, can I use your gun? We're playing cowboys and he doesn't have one," pointing to his friend. I reply, No, sorry pal, no one can have this but me. It's dangerous." Now the kid looks angry, pretends to shoot me with his and runs off. Now is it over? I had hoped, but no. Soon I hear an ahem. Now I guess his mom had gotten upset that I didn't give her son my gun. She says, "Why can't my kid play with your toy?" I ask her, "What toy?" "The toy gun," he says, "that's on your hip." I tell her, "Oh, I'm sorry, this is a real gun and it's dangerous." I then proceed to make sure that it's still hidden under my shirt, and it is. The woman says, "So, just take the bullets out and let him play with it." I say to her, "How about no?" She then says, "Well, what's the harm of him playing with it if it's unloaded? It's not dangerous." At that I tell her, "Loaded or not, I'm not letting a child play with a gun, you half-wit. Don't you have someone else's business to mind?" She then says, "I'm gonna call the police because you have a gun at the park." I say, "Go right ahead. It's a public space and I'm allowed to carry." She then huffs and storms off, not to be heard from again. That was an annoying encounter that did put a damper on my already sour day. Like, with these types of people, you have to be direct. "No, you half-wits, I'm not letting your kid play with my gun," was the perfect response to that situation. And I'm glad Karen didn't reach for that gun. I mean, it would have been super entertaining to read about it if it happened. But for her sake, I'm glad she didn't act all crazy and go grab it, like a lot of people do in these stories. So years ago when I worked in retail, I managed a popular video game store at a nearby shopping mall. One fine Saturday evening, while I was basking in the glory of working retail during a holiday weekend, a Karen walks up. She cuts in line and stares at me and says, "I demand an answer," she says. I say to her, "Okay, I need a question first though." I lightly responded, kind of smiling, before looking up to see a very large and angry woman with an outstretched hand holding a popular M-rated video game and receipt. With a furrowed brow, she asked, "How did my son purchase this?" I then took the receipt, looked it over and said, "With a $50 bill, ma'am." The woman leaned back slightly and said, "Son, I can read. I'm a Harvard law graduate. I know with what it was purchased." I asked how it was purchased. I had worked retail long enough to know that I was about to handle this entirely wrong. But I had also worked in retail long enough to know that the customer isn't always right. I was already having a bad day, and I was called to cover a shift instead of going on a date like I originally planned. I leaned into the woman over the counter and said, "By handing someone on my side of the counter legal tender for an unregulated product. The exchange was made, the product was then placed in a bag and handed to the new rightful owner, and the transaction was complete. That's how it was purchased." Now again, I know this was handled poorly, but also I didn't care. The woman loses it. She adds a lot of volume to her voice, and she says, "My point is, how was my 10-year-old son permitted to purchase a mature title with cash by himself, with no one checking to make sure it was safe for him? It's as if you people don't care about values and you just want to turn a buck. Is that right? You are gonna refund my money." At this point, she was making a scene and trying to get other parents in the store to rally on values and principle, and maybe walk out. And I felt as though I'd been challenged. Also, neither a multi-billion-dollar industry nor my pay would fluctuate if a handful of people refrained from buying a game for a day. I wasn't paid enough to be berated. I then say to her, "Ma'am, you raised an important fact in your case, that he bought the game all by himself. You said you wanted to know how your son was able to buy this game as a means to shift accountability for a lack of parenting onto the store. The game is opened and the receipt is from 3 weeks ago." Now, I didn't attend Harvard Law, but high school was enough to figure out that the more important question is, how did your son come to wander to the mall by himself with cash, buy the game, get picked up by someone you trust, and play it without you knowing for 3 weeks? Now, you question the ethics of sales, despite your son who may have deceived you. If you want a refund, you should go talk to Harvard because that was an embarrassing display of their product. Good day. The woman just left the store and she was never seen again. Guys, that was absolutely savage, the way OP handled that. You should go talk to Harvard because you should get your money back. Like, oh my freaking goodness, how did that Karen not leap over the counter and strangle OP at that point? So there is a second part to the post, and here it is. About a year later, I was working in a clothing store. This couple walks in, and the female begins to try on hats, while the male walks out of the store. After about 5 minutes, the girlfriend turns up to me and asked, "How does this look? Does it make me look super sexy and beautiful?" She then laughed at me, clearly mocking me. I looked over and politely said, "Don't just settle on what you like in a few minutes. It's a great look, but we do have a lot of hats that give you a ton of options to create the look that you may like even more." Hearing that, she frowns, puts down the hats, and briskly walks out to her boyfriend. The boyfriend then pulls out his phone and makes a call, and they both walk away together while he's on the phone. I'm thinking, whatever, I didn't think it was that rude at all. About 20 minutes later, the couple returns with another woman, the mother of the girlfriend, the Karen of our story. The mother approaches the counter and asked if I was working 30 minutes ago. I told her I was. She then asked if I recall assisting her daughter, and she pointed to the girl. I said I did. The mother then asked why I didn't tell her daughter that she was beautiful in the hat. I could see she was visibly angry while saying this. I then explained that I was sorry if I came off as rude. I wasn't saying she wasn't beautiful. What I was saying is that hats are an accessory, and they can be used to create several different looks. And maybe she should try on different hats to create a look that she was comfortable with. The mother then told me to tell her daughter that she's beautiful, or she'll get my manager involved. That if I want to keep my job, I should do what she says. I then say to her, "Nope. Ma'am, as a male and an employee here, I don't think it would be appropriate to remark on the visual appearance of customers, especially in front of who I guess is her boyfriend. That just seems in poor taste." Karen then says, "Well, I was gonna come in and buy everything she wanted. She liked 3 hats, she liked 5 shirts, 4 pairs of pants, 3 pairs of shoes, and 2 purses. I guess you don't want to make a sale then. It would have been a nice commission. Oh well." She then began to turn with her pretentious spin. Nose up-ish, LV bag in her hand at shoulder height. As she spun, I said, "I don't want to make a sale in exchange for compromising principle." And she didn't like that at all. She screams, "Tell my daughter she's beautiful. Now. I just want to hear the truth," she scowled. And this is when I let her have it. I said, "I hate when the truth has me point people to other businesses, but hey, good customer service connects people with the right product, right? So the truth is, if I had to spend a couple of $100s for her to hear that she's beautiful, go to the next door, top floor, Clinique, ask for Emily. They're running a gift right now on new skincare products. It's not inexpensive, but it'll do more for your daughter than a hat will." And boy did she get angry. Karen gets bright red as a tomato, and at that point she screams, "You are not gonna have a job tomorrow." But I never saw them again. I never even heard a complaint about it. The way OP handled those 2 encounters was amazing. Like, what did the mom expect out of that? Even if OP did say it, at that point, he wouldn't have even meant it, so why did she even care so much that he just said those words? So on this day, I was flying cross-country with my husband and son, who was 6 at the time. My son had a backpack with his favorite snacks, books, and toys to distract him. Best of all, in his mind, he had his tablet, with his games and movies, and the time restriction was taken off, so he could play all day long, and he was stoked. He was also by that time an experienced traveler, being the only child of military parents. I was disabled by that time as well, and I used a wheelchair during air travel. Our plane had arrived late, and our connecting plane was held for us to get it. We were flying on Southwest, so seats weren't assigned. Not knowing the extent of my disability or how mobile I would be, the crew held a seat for me in the very front row, where there's more room to get in. They held 2 seats, the window and middle seats, for my son and my husband. There was another older woman, maybe in mid-60s, in the aisle seat. This one woman, a frickin' Karen, wasn't pleased. She started in as soon as we started taking our seats. First, it was how rude we were, making the whole plane wait because we couldn't be bothered to show up on time. Now remember, we were only late because our previous flight, also a Southwest flight, had been late. But the stuff really hit the fan when she realized that a small child was going to be sitting in her row. First, she called the flight attendant and demanded that my son be seated in a different row. The flight attendant explained that the flight was full and there was no other seats available. She offered to see if another passenger would be willing to switch with the lady. The lady said it was completely unacceptable since she arrived in a timely manner and chosen the seat that she wanted. The flight attendant then explained that she was not separating a small child from both parents, and that she wasn't separating a family simply because she didn't want to sit near a child. The flight attendant moved off after that, but the lady continued complaining to anybody who had ears. Meanwhile, my son had his headphones on and was blissfully playing on his tablet. Then came drink service. My husband had requested a juice for my son and a Sprite for himself. The flight attendant handed my husband the apple juice, which he had set on my son's tray. No problem. But then things went wrong. As the flight attendant handed him a Sprite, he fumbled it, spilling it onto the lady. She started yelling about children on flights and how my son had just ruined her dress and that we were gonna have to replace the dress and that she's gonna sue. She didn't get to finish that thought. The flight attendant moved the cart, bent down, nose to nose with the lady, and I'm not sure exactly what she said. The flight attendant quietly said something to the lady, and it wasn't loud enough for me to hear from my seat. But the lady's face went white, and she was quiet for the rest of the flight. My husband was in shock over the whole thing, and my son was still quietly, blissfully immersed in his tablet with his headphones on, completely unaware of what was going on. A number of passengers stopped on their way to the bathroom to loudly compliment my husband and I on how well behaved my son was. Now, I get not liking children, and I get not wanting to be next to a squirmy, bored child for a long flight. This, however, was way out of line. Now guys, I love it when an entitled Karen complains on an airplane. You know why? Because unlike a store where they can leave after they complain, on an airplane you're pretty trapped, so she had to sit there after making herself look bad. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our /entitled people. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. If you did, hit that like button. And if you missed yesterday's episode on the channel, a super entitled Karen slaps a customer for not obeying her. It's such a crazy story, so go check it out if you haven't. And myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.